Hi ladies. Okay, so I'm an hour late again. I'm sorry. I went shopping today, and first I'm gonna say I'm really hot. My son did a summer Texas sin, and right before I came home, he had just baked a pizza and left the oven on 450. So it's extra hot in here, so I apologize if you can see me sweat. So I'm showing you that the messy success beats delayed perfection is how I live my life. There is nothing perfect about me. So I went to my Berkshires and I went into the 4 for 20, and like the stew meat that I need, the biggest package they had was 3/4 of a pound. So I got in my car and then drove farther away from my house to Super One, and I did great there. They had 1 pound packages of stew meat, but what's even better is my chicken. The smallest package was 2.01 pounds, and the other ones were like 2.48. Sorry, I'm fogging up my glasses. I'm so hot. So what I did is I removed that extra quarter or half pound-ish from the packages, and so I've got extra chicken for a whole extra meal, and I spent $40 on all the meat, so pretty good deal. Also, when I went to do my bags, I only had 6, not 8 freezer bags left. So I used the one, if you were here a couple of weeks ago when I did the Asian pork tenderloin. So one of these bags, I erased it with the marker. And then I'm using one of my older reusable freezer bags that I've talked about before, that they are great. They cost a lot of money, and so if you're doing 8 freezer meals every Friday, it's gonna be a lot of money, and they tear or get holes in them just like Ziplocs do. So I find it probably is not worth my money. And so as I was writing today, my permanent marker stopped working, but luckily I had a green one. So it is exactly what my shirt says: messy success beats delayed perfection, because there is nothing perfect happening around here. Okay. My measuring spoons. I don't see them. I'll make it work. Okay. So I'm going to start here with the beef stroganoff. Now the beef stroganoff, again, was an accident recipe. I was working on my crock pot beef tips, or I think that's what they're called, and it ended up tasting to me like stroganoff. So I completely went a different direction. Also, one tip on the cooking time: it is going to depend on the size of your meat. So if you have big chunks of the beef for the beef stroganoff, it might take yours a little longer. Some of my chicken breasts are pretty big, so it's going to determine the size of your meat and how hot your crock pot cooks. I've got the Ninja Foodie that sears, sautés, pressure cooks, slow cooks, and I have 2 crock pots, and they all cook a little bit different. So the suggested times are just suggested times. That's all they are. Okay, one more thing before I get started. So went to Super One, like I said, and these packages of the sliced mushrooms were $1.48. I was not going to pay $5.48, I think it was, for the Baby Bella sliced mushrooms. So I'm adapting and adjusting as I go on. Like for me, like I'm trying to save some money, save time. So I have white mushrooms this time. Even though the recipe I did use the Baby Bella, but $1.48 for 2 pounds, almost 2 pounds, or it is 1 pound, so half a package for each bag. So that is why I have the white and not the Baby Bella. I'm trying to save money. And one more thing, since I did not go to the grocery store yesterday, I did not buy the mushrooms and the onions and pre-saute them. Personally, I want mine to be partially cooked. Just how I like it. So I've got baggies here that I'm going to put the mushrooms and onions in, and then I'll put them in each of the baggies as well. And I have a note on each bag. It says beef stroganoff, 723. Saute onions and mushrooms, add beef and seasonings to crock pot, cook low 3 to 5, and high 2 to 3. All right, so let me grab the onions. They're over here. Okay. So I use my chopper to chop the onions for this recipe, and I would still not be on camera if I was doing like chopping onions our regular way with a cutting board and a knife. It worked out great. Another thing I'm missing. Let me go grab one measuring cup. Okay, I don't want to just use my hands to grab the onions. Sorry, I'm off the camera so much. All right, so this will be the bag I'm going to put the onions and mushrooms in. You don't have to do this step. If you don't mind, you know, your onions or your mushrooms not being quite so, I don't know, soft or cooked or whatever the right word is. And I'm just going to eyeball, but I filled the tray inside this up with sliced mushroom onions, sorry y'all. And I used a really, like mine came with 2 sizes. I used a smaller size for the onions, not the bigger one. And it doesn't matter which way you put it in. I had it in, I guess, upside down, and I couldn't hear what was going on, and it wasn't going through. I had it the wrong way. So it does matter if you get one and something doesn't seem like it's working right, then that could be why. Okay, and these onions, they're not super strong, which I'm thankful for, but they are definitely a little strong. And I'm making a little bit of a mess. I think we should call this the imperfect, messy, fill your freezer Fridays, because I feel like that's all that this has been is little things over and over and over. I did not realize how strong these onions were until I'm doing this. So I guess it even kind of keeps the intensity sealed inside of here. Okay. And I just eyeballed it, as you can see. Okay, all right. The mushrooms, again, I pre-sliced, and this time I saved like 4 or 5, I think $4 or $5, doesn't matter. A lot of money on these mushrooms, so. And then I'm just gonna eyeball it and try to get half a package in each one. And you won't have to do this if you pre-saute or if you don't care. You won't have to mess with this step at all. Oh, okay, let's talk about the xanthan gum. I meant to talk about that yesterday, or no, Wednesday, I did a video. Anyway, my stomach cannot handle glucose, so for me, I have to use xanthan gum. I got my xanthan gum at my local Walmart, and I've had it for well over a year, and I still have plenty left. You use so little. And make sure you use very, 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 very little. I think in the recipe I tell you to go slow and start with like an 1/8 or less of a teaspoon, and you just sprinkle it lightly on and then whisk it. And you whisk it for a little bit. It doesn't immediately get thick. It's going to take about a minute or so. So when I made it, I did it twice, and then it ended up just being perfectly thick. And if you don't want to do that step, you don't have to. Since I ended up going with more of a Stroganoff type recipe in the end, I wanted it to be thick. And then I served it. I was already making my mashed vegetables, and what it is it's 1 bag of frozen cauliflower, 1 yellow squash peeled now. I used to not peel it, but my sons kind of figured out what I was doing. So I peel it and then chop it. And then I have the baby potatoes. They're like that big. I do not peel them. You wash them. And I just boil it all together until everything is completely soft. And then you want to drain it well. If you do not drain it well, I should have already done this. I don't know why I waited to be on the video to do this part, sorry. You have to drain it well. If not, what will happen is your mashed vegetable mixture will become too runny. So you don't want that. Okay, sorry. I should have thought this through and already had these in the bag. Okay, so, whew. I know it's not just hot in Texas, but man, I'm already over summer and we got so much more to do. Okay, so for my beef broth, I'm using the Better Than bouillon. It's just what I've got. Okay, so I need garlic, beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, onion powder, and garlic powder. So I'm just going to mix it into here where I've got my beef broth. Thanks, babe. That's very nice. He put a fan on me, so. Jerry, I will do that at the end if you don't mind. That way, just remind me if I forget. Put it down one, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do a tablespoon of, I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. My recipe says 1 to 2. Actually, Jerry, let me go ahead and answer your question because I will forget. He's going to have, again, I'm not a medical person. Somebody corrected me on how I spelled stents. I'm not a medical person, but I think, and I will make a post about this, my aunt said that he's going to have a double bypass on Monday. If that sounds like something you've heard before, then I'm going to go with that's probably it. And she's just a nervous wreck. And I think every single one of you, I meant to start with that. That's what I wanted to start with, but I started this as a hot mess and totally forgot. I do thank every single one of you for your prayers. It really does mean a lot to my family. I just told y'all I was putting everything in the beef broth and I just added the garlic straight to the bags. I think I should take this shirt off and still not on TV, or video, that's stupid. Anyway, because I feel like I'm living this phrase too much today. Okay, so let me try this again. Worcestershire sauce, okay. I'm gonna eyeball it, 2 tablespoons. When I made it first time, or I only made this one once, I did 1 tablespoon, but then I added another tablespoon at the end. So it's kind of what your taste is. And I believe I called for a half a cup of sour cream. If you want to use a whole cup, use whatever you want. I only had a half a cup and it seemed to work. So thankful for that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and pour this in. I'm afraid if I add anything else, I might make a bigger mess. Oh yeah, I have a mess down here. Then I will go ahead and get out that little bits of stuff in the bottom. Okay, and now I need onion powder and garlic powder. And I think it's, oh no, I don't know if I'm missing something or not. I can't see because you're on my phone. Okay, so garlic powder. Okay. And my onion powder is somewhere. I need it for the firecracker recipe. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it. I feel questioning doing the series. Like I wouldn't quit, but I'm questioning what y'all could be thinking about me right now. Okay, so I'm done with the beef, I think. Oh. Just gonna pop those in there. And then, however you're going to do this on cooking day, your outside notes need to show that. I hope that makes sense. So like for me, I put on there first thing, saute onions and mushrooms. Because for me, that's how I'm going to want it done. Ideally, I would have done this yesterday, which was my plan. And I'm just going to try to do one for y'all and then move on. Okay, so then it's going to go. This is very awkward. I might try to like swish this up this way. I'm not sure. Whenever I take it back to the freezer, I'll figure it out. Let's move on to the firecracker chicken. Got to rearrange this a second. So tip number 1 for budgets. If you have a Super One, that's where I would go. I would not go to Brookshire's. And I might have a leaky bag, so I'm going to double check that before I put these guys in the freezer. If you have a leaky bag already, when you thaw it, all your liquid is gonna, or a lot of your liquid will come out. All right, firecracker chicken. I was so worried I was gonna grab the brags or this for the wrong recipe, so I really wanted to keep things separate if possible. And remember, if you make any Asian food and it calls for something like brags or liquid aminos or soy sauce, this is very salty, so this recipe has no salt in it. This should have salt and pepper in it, so double check my recipes. I did not write that down. Okay, again, real life here, I'm going to show you. When I made this, I used rice wine vinegar. Each bag needs 2 teaspoons. This is not enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to approximate 1 teaspoon in each one, see what I have left, and then I've got apple cider vinegar to finish it off if I need more. Yeah, I'm going to need more. I saw the jar when I made my grocery list and I was like, oh, that'll be fine, but it's obviously not. Hey, thanks for that fan. I do feel so much better. Okay, I'm cheating again this week. I still have my garlic paste. This is not garlic, this is ginger paste. Oh my, how many mistakes am I making today? And so I'm going to use the ginger paste instead of the powdered ginger because I have it. It's sitting in my fridge and I'd rather use it than it go bad. The recipe calls for, I didn't write it down because I knew I was going to use it. I think it's like a teaspoon. I'm just going to try to divide this between all the bags and just see how it goes. Or if I can get any out. There we go. You definitely need more fresh than you would powdered because powdered's a bit more of a concentrate. Yeah. Okay, next I need garlic powder right here. I don't know, but Asian food, when you're making it, it just smells so good. 2 tablespoons of Bragg's. Okay, and then for the wing sauce, if you remember, I did like a little whole tiny video on this. Wing sauce is not the same as like the Frank's red sauce or hot sauce or whatever. It is different. It is a little mild in my opinion. So I had this in the fridge. So what I'm going to do, since I've got a different one here, I don't want the flavors to be too different, so I'm going to divide this between all 4 bags and then finish with what I need with this one. And the recipe says a 1/2 cup. So luckily, hi Patty, I'm making the beef stroganoff and the firecracker chicken. If you go back and you watch the whole thing, I definitely have made some mistakes. We'll start with that. Okay, and again, I'm eyeballing it. If you've got sensitive mouths, I say the weirdest things here, in your house, again, pull back because you can always add this to each bowl. And if it's just too mild for you, what I would do is then I would just add hot sauce to your bowl or sriracha. My husband is I got sriracha, and then he cannot be without sriracha anymore. He has to have sriracha. One more thought on this. This is probably gonna be an hour long. I'm so sorry. They make, like, this one is mild. No, this is medium. They make mild wing sauce medium. They can make like the hotter sauce. And again, sriracha is a great topper. Okay, so we'll have to do brown swerve. Minced garlic and then, oh, sesame. Okay. Had just enough of a few things. And this is very, 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 very powerful. I have 2 teaspoons. If you're worried about the flavor of this being too much for your family, pull back to ½ a teaspoon. Taste it when it's through cooking, and then I did not pre-open this one. Shoot. Add more if you think it could use more. We love a lot of weird things, I guess, in our house, but we love Asian foods and curries and obviously Mexican. And so we really like this. So because it is very powerful, you can smell the strength of it. I would start with ½ to 1 teaspoon, but if your family's like mine and we love the stuff, then the 2 teaspoons would be great for you. Minced garlic, and then the brown swerve. Okay, it's here somewhere. Is this 1 tablespoon? Okay. And, you know, if you're not new to THM, then you know, like Pearl, puts garlic in nothing. And if you see my recipes, I put so much garlic in so many recipes. If your family is not a garlic fan, leave it out or just use a little bit of the garlic powder. But I love garlic. Brown swerve. So we garlic things up. And I don't know, can anyone confirm? I remember hearing something that, I think, was it Swerve that maybe changed their recipe, maybe to add a filler or something. So I just bought this today, and it says, oh, I threw it away. It had like new and improved or something on the top. And I noticed that, and I wonder if it was the Swerve that has added a filler. Okay, if you don't have Swerve, use a sweetener that you have. Swerve equals, I need to stop talking, I'll have lies. This kind of Swerve, the only ones I've used, I've done granulated powder and this, they measure equal to sugar. So this, it would be ½ a cup of brown Swerve in each one. It's kind of expensive, not gonna lie. I would use a little sweetener that you do have and just a tiny bit of molasses, because this was like $8, and I'm going to use most of this bag in this recipe. So even though I did save a lot of money, like on my meats, especially my chicken, this is pretty expensive when it comes to a dinner recipe with sweetener. So what I would do is I would use like whatever you've got. Try to make it even. Okay. And what gives brown sugar the flavor is the molasses. I bought a giant thing of blackstrap molasses many years ago when my daughter was vegan, and I still have it because you only need the tiniest amount. All right, so Firecracker Chicken. I'm done with it. I'm gonna zip it up and put it in my freezer. It is a fuel pull. You can go any direction. I have on my blog my fried rice with cauliflower rice. My trick, you keep cooking it and you keep adding liquid until there is no more cauliflower taste or texture to it. Use whatever recipe you want. I'm not, pushing you to mine. But I do also have, when I made this last week, I came up with a brown rice, fried rice. Super simple. I had the brown rice, so it became an E. But you can run any direction you want with this. Now, reduce the sweetener, especially if you're really watching your pennies. If I would have thought I was going to use a whole bag of brown Swerve in 4 recipes, I probably would have reduced the sweetener and then tasted it after it was done cooking and then adjusted as needed, because that really, in my opinion, made the price of this dish jump up. We've been on a budget. Well, we aren't on quite the budget we used to be when my kids were little, but that's a lot. Anyway, use what you've got. If this video shows you 2 things. I live messy success, beats delayed perfection. That has been this whole video. 2, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, use what you have. You don't have regular beef broth or whatever, use water, use the bouillon, use what you've got. And if I just said bouillon wrong, I'm sorry. Bouillon? Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope at least this was helpful and I'm guessing a little bit entertaining. I'm so sorry I made so many mistakes. And again, thank you all so much for praying for my uncle. I will for sure do an update. Thank you, Jerry. You have been the best. I will go make sure what my aunt said and put that back on my page so y'all can see what she said. And then, but I do know it's a surgery Monday. And biggest tip of all, only make what your family likes. If your family hates Asian food, do not make this firecracker chicken. It's got brags, it's got sesame seed oil. It is definitely an Asian dish. If you're worried about the heat, reduce it and use mild. If you're worried about the strength of the sesame seed oil or even the saltiness of this brags, pull back on it. Make these for your family's individual tastes. Hope you have a great weekend. That's it. I'm gonna go now. I feel like I've embarrassed myself enough. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Becky.